Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
There's always one.
All right, guys, welcome. All right, pipe down there at the back.
You're letting South London down, aren't you, Kevin? Letting us down, Kevin. Big time, mate. She still wants George Graham back there.
We have a Millwall fan among us, people, but it's okay. Welcome to the second hour of our live broadcast from the Hippodrome in London. Hopefully you can all hear me. I'm not going to yell because I don't want to disturb the ears of the people listening live on YouTube.
Yeah, sorry about my bird, sorry. I won't bring her again, I'll tell you, I promise. Darling, calm me down. Short couple brandies now, Lee. I'm going to get on the sauce.
Oh, okay.
She ain't coming here again 24-hour drinking, I'll tell you.
No matter where in the world you might be listening from, you're here in London live at the great Hippodrome. Thank you to the owner, Simon, to Mike, to George, to everyone who's welcomed us here this evening. We hope you guys are enjoying the wonderful facilities that they have here. It's amazing. Just want to reintroduce the panel, Mr. Symeou from the Chronicles of Gooner. Mr. Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk TV. Mr. Dan Potts from Lee Judges TV. Mr. Lee Judges himself. And of course,
Super Gary Campbell.
Oh, well done, everyone.
And Sophie. They're giving up work. The wonderful Sophie.
Sometimes we want to but that's the beauty of being an Arsenal fan, right? So don't leave at the end because you'll get to take pictures with everyone. We're doing meet and greet, and we have a special surprise before we close the show, so please don't leave, right?
Well, you don't even know what that is.
Let me tell you, there's always a surprise when Super Kevin Campbell's involved.
Oh.
Right. We talked about Chelsea, we talked about youth, we talked about transfers. Let's get stuck into some juicy conversation, right? The polarising conversation of Mr. Mikel Arteta. I know you guys want to hear these guys face to face in terms of where we're at, where we're going, and where you think we've been as a club that has resulted in the moment that we're in right now, right? I think she's actually an Arsenal fan, not a Millwall fan, by the way.
Being with Lee, she doesn't know what she's doing.
So, I don't know why the subject of Mikel Arteta has become such a polarising conversation. And I want to go back a little bit because Arsene Wenger towards the end became a conversation of conflict, right? Unai Emery became a conversation of conflict. Mikel Arteta seems to be a conversation of division. And I feel as Arsenal fans, considering we're seeing the emergence of Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, there's a lot to be proud of, a lot to be happy about, right? There seems to be this division if you think one way or another. For example, if you look at a game to game, you're a flip-flopper. If you support Mikel Arteta, you're a homer. And there's no grey area, it's black or white. And there is some very differing views and opinions on the manager on this panel. So I wanted to get stuck into that a little bit at the beginning of this hour, and then we will hand it back to you to ask us anything. You've got Harry here, you've got Tom here, you've got Super Kev, you've got Lee, you've got Dan. This is the time to ask whatever you want. So, I'm going to kick things off with Harry.
I thought you might.
He knew it was coming. But Harry is a voice that some people, when I was on a show with Lee and Tom and Dan a couple of weeks ago, his support of what he thinks was met with a lot of vitriol, which I don't think is right. Okay, I think we can all have an opinion and respect each other.
Yeah.
And Dan's opinion is different, but he's also met with vitriol. So I want Harry to articulate what he thinks, what you feel, and we will move down the line and get everyone's thoughts on that.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I just want to confirm two things. Number one, I'm not Mikel Arteta's lawyer. And number two, and number two, I'm not on the Arsenal payroll, as I keep getting accused of, for sort of defending what we're doing at the moment. So the thing with Mikel Arteta is that we brought him in inexperienced, obviously, not the guy that everybody dreamed of, right? Let's be honest. He's not the manager that we all thought, this is the guy that we need to take us back to the glory days. But what we've got at Arsenal is we've got a club that was in dire straits, that needed rebuilding from the ground up again. And an Antonio Conte, a Pep Guardiola, a Jurgen Klopp, they're not going to take on a job like that. Yep. At this point in their careers, they will feel that that's below them. That they're at a point where they want to compete today and they want to win football matches and trophies today. They don't want to give it time. Yep. So you had to give it to someone who saw this as an opportunity and was willing to put in the hard graft from the bottom up to the top. And that's what Mikel Arteta is. He's someone who's got a very strong idea, very strong philosophy. He's very big on values, discipline, all of those things. And he wants to implement that at Arsenal Football Club and hopefully get us back to where we want to be. But what I will say is, he may not still, even now, even though I support him, be the one that takes us back into the Champions League or back to the top of the Premier League. Because he might not have that experience, he might not be at that level. But that doesn't mean that everything he's done is bad. Yeah. He's ripped everything out and started again. He's had the backing of the club, and you got to say that in a way that Unai Emery didn't get. Unai Emery was brought in with a view for a short term, come in, experienced coach, bridge that gap between us and the Champions League. Now, today, he missed out the first season. Second season, it went bad. He was gone because the club were never that into him. They never really saw him as a long-term thing. They didn't even give him autonomy over transfers. He had no idea what was going on. He'd ask for one player and get another. So there came a point where the club decided that we have to start again, and the only way to do it, unless you're going to throw the money in, which KSE are not going to do. They do put some money in, let's be honest, and I get annoyed when people say, oh, it's Arsenal's money and it's not KSE's money. It's their business. It's their football club, whether we like it or not. We are the supporters and we're the heartbeat of the football club. But at the end of the day, KSE own the business. I own a business. Nobody tells me what to do with the money that belongs to my business. It's mine. And that's the situation we're in. So we've got to kind of not accept, because we've always got to demand the best, but we've got to understand that they're only going to invest to a certain point. Therefore, the only way that we grow is with a process, and people hate that word. But Liverpool did it. Liverpool did it. You know, Liverpool only got opportunities to go and spend big because they sold big. And when you look at the recruitment that we've done, like Tom says, going and signing players of a certain profile, they're players that we can sell on in a few years' time and maybe get your 80, 90 million pound and go and build your team that you want. So I just defend Mikel Arteta because I feel like he's had a really difficult job and nobody's taken into consideration the inexperience, and nobody's taken into consideration how much is going on behind the scenes. So, as I say, let's keep going, let's see how it goes. He might not be the man to go to the next level, but it doesn't mean everything that he's done up to now has been bad.
Well okay, fair points from Harry.
Well said, Harry.
So, I want to move to Tom, because I've always felt that...
You hate me.
No. That Tom's been accused of being an Arteta guy, but Tom's actually said, I'm an Arsenal guy. And I actually think Harry's also an Arsenal guy. I think Dan's an Arsenal guy. Lee's an Arsenal guy. I'm an Arsenal guy, girl. Super Kev's an Arsenal person, right? Player.
Person.
Yeah.
That's about right.
As opposed to what?
He's undecided. What's going on here?
Damn that gender neutral thing.
Oh, geez.
Okay, so Tom's perspective, and again, someone who's been attacked about his opinion, because I think Tom's aligned more in my corner, which people don't see me in that corner. He says what he sees based on what game he watches. Tom, tell us your perspective.
The check's in the post, by the way.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
No,
You're a nice person.
look, I'm Arsenal in, as Sophie says, and I think we get bogged down in this argument of Arteta in and Arteta out, and well, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have got social media and you see the Arteta in, Arteta out debate in chat boxes and different YouTube channels. And it's so frustrating because I look at Arsenal in the most healthy position I've seen it in a long, long time. I feel like over the last decades, especially towards the end of the Arsene Wenger era, during the Unai Emery era, and I'm not blaming that solely on Unai Emery, certainly from the club from the top down, mistakes were made. To the point where you've got an inexperienced guy who, yes, was a huge risk to appoint this inexperienced guy, but this guy has taken the club from a point where you've made 10 years of mistakes and you started to change things. You started to invest in the club in terms of proper recruitment, not wasting money. Yes, make mistakes. Everyone remembers Willian, we all know that was an error. But at the end of the day, we learned in 2021 and we made better decisions in the market. And it's so frustrating to see an Arsenal that I look at on the rise, and I see a club moving in the right direction now, and there's still so much division in the fan base, and you see Harry getting attacked in channels, you see me getting attacked in channels, and you see Dan getting attacked in channels for having the opposite point of view. When actually we all want the same thing, which is Arsenal to win the next game and move on in a positive direction. But speaking about Arteta, look, I always criticise when there's a reason to criticise. I, like so many fans, was after that Brighton game and saying, why on earth did you play Granit Xhaka at left back? Because it was senseless to play Granit Xhaka at left back. You left a 22-year-old Lokonga to hold the entire midfield, and we were exposed because of that. But that being said, I think we've seen a change in the way that we play. I think this year we've seen a style of play introduced and really established into the team. I think this fullback system that he's got when he had both fullbacks available in Tomiyasu and Tierney was really working for us. And I think we've progressed from that. I think he identified the areas that Arsene Wenger failed to do, which was central midfield. You look, we brought in Thomas Partey. When was the last time we brought in a genuine top-class central midfielder? Anyone? Because I'm really struggling all the way back to going to Patrick Vieira, etc. That's the genuine last time we signed a top-class central midfielder. Mikel Arteta was one of the people that decided that was the right path to go down. And that's why I've got the faith that in the summer of 2022, when we all sitting here know that we need that world-class striker, he's going to be the person to recognise that we need that and going to sign that player. Could Conte have come in? Maybe. We don't know. He's gone to Spurs, and we still don't know what's going on. Yeah. You're right to laugh because he's gone to Spurs. It's his fault. But at the end of the day, I look at what's going on with Arsenal. I feel like the progression is there. I feel like we've made positive steps and we're moving in a positive direction. But there needs to be accountability. Always. If we finish outside the top six, you'll see me speaking a very different tune because quite rightly we shouldn't be finishing outside the top six. And it's as simple as that. It's accountable. You need to make the right decisions. And we'll only know what that means at the end of the season.
Very true.
Well done, Tom.
Well said, Tom.
All right, I'm going to come to Dan next. And, you know, when you do a show every day, you have a YouTube channel, you put yourself out there with your thoughts, what your feelings are. We're fans at the end of the day, so we respond to what we see. And I think it's important for people to know that there's a lot of energy that goes into that. Like what Harry does, what Tom does, what Dan does, what Lee does, what Kev brings to the Highbury Squad. It's important that we understand that our opinions matter, no matter whether we agree or disagree. And this is the part that I really want to try and bridge the gap from it becoming a toxic conversation to it becoming how it used to be conversation down the pub with your mates having a pint. Oh, really? Oh, what? Anders Limpar? Why is Anders? Lee will do it. Anders Limpar, what, we're buying out? Who's he? You know, and then it goes to, I don't know, Sonogo. Who's Sonogo? Whoa, well, that didn't work out, did it?
That was a bad example.
Yeah, that was a bad example. But, you know, there were polarising figures. People didn't like Giroud. People thought Fabregas was a sellout. People think Robin van Persie is toxic because of how he left the club. Ashley Cole, what, $5,000? Driving in my Mercedes, swerving around the tree, I almost crashed. We can always have these conversations and bring good points to each, whether we agree or disagree. I think Dan has come under fire for his thoughts and what his opinions are, and I'd love for him now to articulate to you guys what his perspective is regarding Mikel Arteta and where he's coming from.
Yeah, cheers, Soph. It's an interesting one for me. Here's the scoop, as you like to say. The way I see it is, whether you're Arteta out or not, I don't back the process. So, if you said to me, do you want Kroenke out or Arteta out? I'd want Kroenke out. Because I don't believe personally that this ownership is going to take us forward to a title. People say spend money. They spent a lot of money. They have spent a lot of money. But look at what they have allowed it to be spent on. Players like Mustafi instead of Van Dijk.
Sonogo.
Players like Sonogo. Players like Granit Xhaka, when you could have had Kante. The recruitment's been shocking.
I don't know why
And people will say the
head.
recruitment's nothing to do with the Kroenkes. Well, who's employing them? They're employing them. Who is employing Mikel Arteta? The Kroenkes. I don't trust this process, and I disagree with what Harry's saying in terms of trying to copy Liverpool, because we're not copying Liverpool, because Liverpool went and got an experienced manager who had experience at winning stuff at Dortmund. We didn't. We went for somebody who'd never managed in his life. Not even managed Wigan or Bolton, let alone the Dortmunds of this world. So that was why I never backed this process and didn't believe it would work. The other reason I don't back this process is because I believe if you have young players, you need experience along the line somewhere. I don't see experience anywhere, really. I don't see it on the pitch. I don't see it in the management. I don't see it in the boardroom with Edu or Vinay. And I certainly don't see experienced football men in the Kroenkes. So that's why I have struggled to trust the process, as people are saying. When it comes to Mikel Arteta, I've given him a little bit of credit, to be fair, believe it or not, for some of the stuff that he has done in terms of removing the culture, which is now a word which everyone seems to want to use as a buzzword. I think what he's done with the recruitment, him and Edu, who needs to take credit as well, has actually been pretty good, to be honest with you. But what I need to see then is more pressure on him, because he's being allowed, unlike Unai Emery, to buy all the players that he wants. So get them working. When one or two of those players are out, and you have two fullbacks coming in, people say, yeah, but he hasn't got his first 11. Who signed Cedric and Tavares? Did Emery? No. Mikel Arteta did. So again, I'm looking at him to be the coach, which everybody's telling me that he is, to move us forward. And I'm not convinced yet that I've seen enough. I think 3 years, this will be, under Mikel Arteta, without Champions League football is a sackable offence, in my opinion. When you've spent £250 million on a side that is yours, there's not many players now that aren't his left, and you've got one game a week, you're out of Europe, and Man United and Tottenham are trash, right? Let's have it right. If you can't get into the top four, I think that is not. I don't see how we can defend keeping this guy for yet another season by giving him yet another transfer window. I said it before. This guy needs more windows than Microsoft, right? I said it before. I said it before, and I say it again. I don't think we can go again another window with the European football, which we're probably going to get, and expect him to take us to a Champions League. And I'll leave this with everybody. Do we expect a title under Mikel Arteta? If the answer is no, why are we going to keep him? Because I want to win titles. And people will say, and we had a chat at the back of Ray and with Jags, who else do you want then? And I've said the reason that we won't get the people I want is because of Stan Kroenke. Because he doesn't want a winner. He wants a yes man, a cheap option, and a process. And that's why I want the Kroenkes out. Because if you gave me Diego Simeone, you gave me Antonio Conte, Carlo Ancelotti, Roberto Mancini, I would have them all over Mikel Arteta. But the reason they're not going to get one of those guys is because the Kroenkes don't want him. So we are going to be stuck with Mikel Arteta. But this is why, or some of the reasons, that I'm struggling to trust the process.
All right, Dan.
Well done, Dan. Well said.
by the way, the one thing I definitely agree with Dan is you cannot be the man who got us kicked out of Europe after 20 plus years of being in Europe and not get us back in. That, to me, is something that the club will have to look at. Lee, you've been accused of being a flip-flopper, Mr. Judges. Let the people know what you think.
Flip-flop. Listen, I'm going to be honest. I don't care who is the manager of Arsenal Football Club. I don't care as long as he's winning games of football. When he wins games of football, he's good. He's good. When he's not, then I don't like him. Simple as that, like. You know what I mean? And that is it in a nutshell. But ultimately, one thing that I don't like about Mikel Arteta and everything about it and everything like that is that he's got this so much free pass. You know what I mean? Like, people lord over Mikel Arteta. But what has he done to be lorded over? You know what I mean? I lord over Arsene Wenger and I lord over George Graham because what they've done, he proofs in the pudding and won me titles and whatever. It seems to be like a free pass with Mikel. Now, I don't care. Did I want Mikel as a manager in the first place? No, because I wanted someone with experience. If I'll be honest, I think most people would have gone right down that
Allegri
route.
and all that, yeah.
But, you know, like, yeah, we was going Enrique, Allegri, Mikel Arteta, you know what I mean? So we got that, but then you got to back it. And I bloody well did back it. I see progress when we won the FA Cup and I'm thinking, right, yeah, I see it. But then I see when we're going into league games, winning a couple of games, losing a couple of games, losing a couple of games, drawing a couple of games. I didn't see where no manager at a big club would have survived the run of form that he had last season when we was lost. It was incredible. No other manager. Well, I always said this Mikel Arteta, let's get it right about Mikel Arteta. He might be the best looking Spaniard, he is the luckiest manager I've ever known. He's a millionaire. He's played football all his life. He's never had a job. Hard job.
Oi!
Sorry.
Oi!
He's never
Bloody hard job, what are you talking about?
He's never got up a ladder at 6 o'clock in the morning, has he? Like,
Hey, how do you know he's gone up to rescue the cat?
Never like. He's never done that. Right? He's got a beautiful wife. He's got all his hair down. It's a joke. You know what I mean? Like? And whenever he messes up in a job, that's all right, don't worry about it. Have another go. You know what I mean? So he's a very, very lucky manager. But
Are you saying you want to be Mikel then?
oh, I'd love to be Mikel. I'll tell you what, let's be honest, he wasn't a great footballer, like, you know what I mean? He was decent. You know, Patrick Vieira, is he, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but there he is. Patrick, poor Patrick, the legend that he is at Crystal Palace, but Mikel Arteta, he's at Arsenal. You know what I mean? So there you go. But he has done. What I don't like about Mikel, one of the reasons people go, oh, he's got no experience. 2.5 years he's been at the job now. Surely he has got experience. There's no way, if he keeps making mistakes, he should not be let off because he's inexperienced no more. He's got that experience. In saying that, he's done us, I think, one thing that I'm going to say about Mikel, I don't care what anybody says, I felt a disconnection with Arsenal Football Club and its players for a very, very long time. Yeah. Going to away games, no one coming up to you and clapping and all that. Then you go and see Liverpool and every single player and the physio and the kit man all out there waving to and I wanted a bit of that. I've got that now because I'll tell you what, every time they come up, like, I don't know if you noticed it yesterday when Saka scored, jumping into the crowd and all things like that. That is great, and he's done a great job on that, like, you know. I think at the end of the day, if Mikel doesn't get us to Europe, then I think there's got to be consequences to that, like. There's got to be accountability. But if he gets us to the top 4 and gets us maybe, listen, can I be honest?
Don't be honest, Lee Judges.
If he got us 5th, right, and Man United were 4th, I'll take it. I cannot stand the fact it's that lot down the road that are going to get above us, and that's what winds me up. So get above them, Mikel, and you can stay at the Arsenal.
No one's going to argue with that one. All right, Mr. Judges, well said. So me and this guy, we've had some very intense conversations about our manager, and you know,
It's called battles.
battles.
Battles. It's
Battles.
called battles.
Kev's
The
like,
intense
it's called
conversation.
battles. They're battles.
Yeah.
And we could be so like having a row completely, but we respect each other's opinions because we come out of it and we're always like, you know, we'll have a cup of tea over the internet. Super Kev takes us beyond the white lines and into the game as a player. He takes us beyond the white lines into the dressing room. He lets us know what it's like from his perspective, because I am a fan. Therefore, I get emotional. We all get emotional. Football is about feeling, being angry, being sad, being happy, being glad. Tom went out for a walk this morning and I was like, look at this, who ate the canary, right?
I feel like you need to add more context to that.
I do. And so, like, Kev puts things in perspective for me sometimes when we react to things. But I believe in what I think when I see something game to game. So Super Kev, with everything Harry said, Tom said, Dan and Lee,
Yeah.
where do you stand? You've been called Arteta's lawyer on our show.
Yep.
You've been
You're the deluded one on Highbury
I'm the
Squad.
deluded
called
one on Highbury
deluded.
Squad, yes.
On the high, he's the deluded one apparently.
You and Campbell.
Hey, Harry, I'm happy to take the lawyer. I'm happy to take the deluded. I'm happy to take it all. And here's the reason why. If anybody has ever been on the inside of a football club and crossed that white line, then you're going to know. If you've been successful, then you know. It's all very well speaking from a position in the stand, but when you're actually in the trenches and you know what it takes, let's be brutally honest. Before Mikel Arteta came to the club were going nowhere. We hadn't qualified for no Champions League for a number of years. We'd done nothing. We were a rudderless ship. We've been sold, leaving Highbury to go to the Emirates. We're going to be challenging at the top. We're going to do this. We're going to be challenging the likes of Bayern Munich. Where was it? Where was it at the Emirates? Even under Arsene Wenger, who was our greatest manager, it started to go pear-shaped. We brought in Unai Emery. Unai Emery is a very capable manager, as he's proving now, especially now he's proven himself. Why couldn't he do it at Arsenal? He got us to a final, and look what happened in the final. We got absolutely battered. And you remember what happened at the end of that? That was the start of the end, because Mesut Ozil going off with a half. All of that dressing room toxicity came to the fore in his second season. His second season was the Granit Xhaka incident and everything, and then everybody knew he was done. So, Arsenal brought in an experienced manager after Arsene Wenger. Nothing happened. Should Unai Emery have got more time? We can say, yeah, he should have. But he'd lost the dressing room. He had lost it. So, none of the big managers are going to stake their reputation on a club that is going nowhere. They're going to want 500, 600, 700 million to turn this ship around. The Chronicles are not going to give them that money. So what do? You have to kind of go, who's the next best? And the next best who was up for the challenge. And you know what? In order to rip out that dressing room, you needed somebody who's happy to be ruthless. And that's what Mikel Arteta is, happy to be ruthless. He's not taking no nonsense of Ozil. He's not taking no nonsense of Guendouzi. I don't care how good they are. Because you know what? George Graham done the same when he was there. If you are bad for the dressing room, you're bad for Arsenal. Out you go. And yet it's taken a bit longer than we would have liked. We all want to be challenging at the top. That's for sure, we do. But you know what? The most important thing is to get it right. And slowly but surely, COVID kicked in. He's won a trophy. So what? Last season was poor, especially the first half of the season. We improved a bit in the second half. Then we said, right, Mikel Arteta needs his own team. After the first 3 games this season, tell me the truth. He ain't going to last until Christmas. He's probably not going to last until the Spurs game. He gets his own players in, and all of a sudden, they get questioned. Ramsdale gets questioned. Tommy Arthur, who's he? Lokonga, who's he? Tavares, who's he? Ben White, 50 million. But all of a sudden, we start to see a little bit of culture, We start to see more togetherness in this team. And as Lee made a really good point, we start to see a connection between the team and the fan base. And it was a tough one because after last season, with fans back in the Emirates, it could have gone really pear-shaped for Mikel Arteta. Now we're here with 6 games to go, and we're level on points with that lot down the road, and we can get Champions League football. We want it, we're desperate for it, because you know what, we want to be back where we belong, right? Mikel Arteta, with this young team, youngest team in the division, we are so close. So for me, as his lawyer, it's not about trusting the process, it's about being realistic. We've played all season without a striker. You tell me another team in the league apart from Man City who can get away with that. We've gotten away with it. The last 3 games before the Chelsea game, it's looked terrible. Like we could always go back to January and say, why didn't we buy a striker? But we can get there. Eddie's all of a sudden turned up. Lacazette's obviously on the bench. Do you know what? We need that top 4. If we get 5th, fair enough, we're back in Europe. But this opportunity is so big for us. If we can get that top 4, the level of player we could sign this summer goes up. And that's what I'm in it for. I'm in it for doing stuff with these youngsters and getting that top 4. So, as his lawyer, I rest my case.
Damn, you convinced me. Kev, Harry's got a question for you.
Kev, I want to ask you a question as an ex-player, because none of us are in a position to answer this apart from you. But I feel like nowadays we've become obsessed with the manager. Everything is on the manager. Okay, he oversees the team, he oversees the setup, and ultimately he's responsible for the results. But percentage-wise, how much of it is the plan and how much of it is the execution? Because I could be the best architect in the world, but if I can't use a screwdriver, I can't build what it is that I'm designing.
You haven't got the team to build it, you're done.
Well,
I'll say this to you, and this is really important.
It's
and this
the players,
It's the strap line, it's the players. Because you know what? I'll tell you this much. Do you reckon Jurgen Klopp could do what he's doing with this Arsenal team? Tell me the truth. Do you reckon he could? He couldn't.
Champions of England.
He could not do it. So it's the players that get you across the line. The players are the ones who have to go out there and deliver. And you know what? Sometimes the players have to roll their sleeves up and get dirty. We haven't been good at that over the years. We've got a young team, talented team. We've got to develop them. But it is always the players, and the better players you have is the better chance you have.
Okay, so Kev, Mourinho didn't have the best players when he won the Champions League with Porto. Claudio Ranieri certainly didn't have the best players when he won the Premier League with Leicester. So, are those anomalies?
Yeah, they are. They are. They really are. The likes of Leicester, how many years does that happen? Porto winning the Champions League is an anomaly. Leicester winning it is an anomaly. That's why it reverts back to type after that. You never see a Leicester really...
They were less talented players, but the manager, I think, was the result of why those teams won the way they did.
No, they only set them up, so because you look at that team. Drinkwater goes to Chelsea. Kante goes to Chelsea. That was the heartbeat. We were after Vardy. Vardy didn't want to leave Leicester to come to Arsenal. Are you crazy?
What happened to Ranieri after he left to Leicester as well?
But he panned. He panned.
But he still won the league
Yeah,
with Leicester.
but the key is, football is all about timing. Do you know what? Anybody old enough to know Liverpool, before they won the title this time, 30 years previous, in 1990, Liverpool won the league after we won it in 89. If I'd have said to you after that, Liverpool won't win it for 30 years, you'd have put me in a straitjacket. You would have. You would have put me in a straitjacket. But it's all about timing. The timing of the players coming together, other teams improving. All of a sudden, everybody's got money. Leicester could resist us, Harry. Vardy, you know, you're not having Vardy. James Maddison, 70 million. All this type of thing. We are trying to claw to get back, but it's a lot more difficult now because everyone's got money.
Okay, so one of the most polarising conversations over the last few weeks, because of the losses to Crystal Palace, Southampton and Brighton, were that we didn't do our due diligence in January to go after and get a striker or get reinforcements. I think we are all in support of getting rid of bad players, toxicity, negativity, and anyone who wasn't delivering for the club, especially at a high wage. So, in a nutshell, before we hand it back to the audience to ask us a ton of questions, Harry, we'll go back the same way. What's your feeling on January? I know you've talked about it on your show and other shows, but here with everyone. Kev talked about we haven't had a striker all season. Whose fault is that? That's the fault of Mikel Arteta, Edu. How much is Edu culpable? Should he be part of the narrative a little bit more? Is January going to cost us?
Well, it's interesting because nobody was talking about Aubameyang when, as soon as he left, we picked up form and we were scoring more
I never
goals.
mentioned Aubameyang.
No, I'm speaking
right.
in general.
Yeah.
About Aubameyang's departure, when Arsenal, after his departure, went on a run of scoring more goals.
21 goals in December.
Right.
Yeah.
So the issue is that I do think that we left ourselves short, and I do think we took a risk. But I think when you weigh up what was available, I mean, people were talking about Alexander Isak, £75 million. He scored 4 league goals this season. And has he got one more? There you go, 5. He scored once more. I haven't checked transfer market.
Nice one, Tom.
Get it right, Harry. Get it right.
But the point is that sometimes, you know, if you're buying a house and you don't find a house that you like, you don't just buy a house for the sake of it. For years and years and years, we've done that. We've gone and bought, like Dan said, we looked at certain midfield players. We went for Granit Xhaka. We brought him in. Now, I defend him because I think the criticism he gets is over the top. But he's not perfect. He's got faults. He's got shortcomings. So
Can we clip that? Can we clip that?
So actually, looking back at the window and looking at the fact that for years we've bemoaned Arsenal going out and spending money stupidly, if they felt genuinely that there wasn't anything available for the money that we could afford, because remember, Mikel Arteta doesn't go to bed every night thinking, oh, I don't want a new striker, I don't want the best players. You know, he's got to work within the means that are put to him by the club. So if there wasn't an option available that he and Edu felt was going to come in and be a guy for the future, not just for today, and we're going to get stuck with more deadwood, then fine.
Don't do it.
Everybody here has said that the recruitment last summer was good. For me, that recruitment means that I'm going to trust them for a little bit. They've got a little bit of leeway with me because of that last summer window and how positive it was. So I think sometimes we've got to step back and trust them. If we get top 4 and then we go and get a top striker in the summer, everyone will say it's a masterstroke. It's so easy to look at stuff with hindsight. With foresight, it's a different matter. And I just think we need to judge it at the end of the season.
Tom. Striker, you know, right back, Tierney injured a lot. You know, yes, you have a strategic plan in the summer. They stuck to it, they rolled the dice in January. We're here in this position. Should they have rolled the dice in a different direction and said, you know what, we didn't think we were going to be here, let's go for it?
I'm going to go and roll some dice after this.
We are at the Hippodrome, of course.
Look, it's the one thing that I've remained consistent about, and I've disagreed with Harry on, is how we handled the January market. I look at the opportunities that were out there. I look at the players that moved in the January window. You saw we went for Dusan Vlahovic. We all know that we were going for Dusan Vlahovic. We couldn't get him because Juventus wanted him and he wanted to go to Juventus. Yeah. And to replace him, Fiorentina brought in Artur Cabral from Basel, and they brought in Christoph Piatek from Hertha Berlin on loan. These weren't players that you had to necessarily commit to, especially, say, Piatek. And Alvaro Morata was the other player. Now, we may scoff at the name Alvaro Morata because we remember what he did for Chelsea. It wasn't great. But if you think about the fact, and I'm very well aware that Eddie Nketiah scored 2 great goals, didn't he? Right, Lee Judges, great goals, Eddie Nketiah.
Go on, Eddie.
But in January, without that perspective, he's scored 3 goals and got 3 assists for Juventus since that point. If you'd have told me that we were bringing in Alvaro Morata for 6 months on a 6-month loan deal to see us until the end of the season, I would have taken that because it would have solidified our striking options. He's got Premier League experience, didn't go great, sure. but he's got that Premier League experience. He would have offered more for me. So it is something I do criticise. What I will say is that if we finish the end of the season and we are outside the top 4, January will be the one thing I look at as the reason why we didn't finish in the top 4. I wouldn't sack Arteta for not finishing in the top 4 because of that, because I look at the good work that we've done in the market to set us up to even be in a top 4 race, in my view, ahead of schedule. I didn't expect us to be in a top 4 race this season. I thought we would finish 5th or 6th and, you know, comfortably off of the top 4. But with six games to go, we are still in that race for the top 4 because of what we've done in the market, the way in which we've coached this team to have a style of play with the youngest team, as Kev says, in the Premier League. And that's why I'm behind seeing what might happen in the summer if we do bring in a world-class striker and a world-class midfielder, of what this manager can do with this team and with those additional players. And Dan, I want to kind of shoot
Toss it to
you.
Dan, yeah.
Because something we talk about and we go back and forth about is the standards. You know, we talk about standards at Arsenal. I, like you, want Arsenal to be in the top 4. I want us to be challenging for titles. I want to be in the Champions League. I look at those last 10 years and I think how far we fell. Yes, at the start of Arteta's tenure as well, granted. And I think that was a bit of a hangover from the managers that came before. And I think I had the same standard as you, that I want Arsenal to be there. But that turnaround to put us back into that contention, I just don't see that happening in such a short space of time, even with £250 million being spent.
Not enough.
I think it's going to take way more than that. And I didn't want to let your point rest, and I wanted to, you know, come to you on that and get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It isn't going to be a quick turnover, but I don't see this manager and this process taking us to a title.
Why is that?
That's the way it is. I don't think the guy's experienced enough. I don't think that the guy has shown enough to convince me that he is the guy that's going to be here long term to have us winning titles. I don't think that happens anyway in football anymore. I don't see a manager staying at a club for 10, 15 years. I think the Wenger, Ferguson days are done. I want to win now. It's always 5 years. Why is it always 5 years' time? Give it time. I want to win now. So we talk about
I do
a
as well,
5 year.
Dan.
I don't know. I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying what I think. I want to win now. How am I going to try and win now? Not by waiting in 5 years' time for Saka and Smith Rowe and Martinelli to say we ain't won anything. I'm off to Newcastle or Chelsea.
So do you think a top manager that you class as an elite manager would have us winning now, under the way the club operates and with the current group of players we've got?
So I don't think we've got. Sorry, you're coming in, Soph.
No, go on. I was going to say.
I don't think the team we've got now is good enough to win a title. Right, facts. I think everyone could agree with that. But do I think that we would be in a much better position with an elite manager like Conte, Tuchel, Klopp, Pep, Simeone, Mancini? 100% I do.
And they will recruit better.
Not only would they recruit better and have people be more inclined to go to them because of what they've done in the past, they are experienced heads and they demand the best, which is what I think we should be looking towards doing.
Okay, so Lee, Edu did an interview with Sky Sports. I hear what Harry and Tom are saying. It feels like we've been trusting the process for 10 years.
Longer?
He's not even had 2 full seasons yet. It's not even been 2
But Unai Emery was not given the same grace. He just was not. This is a fact. And he wasn't given the power to remove the toxicity. And Lee mentioned it earlier about Arteta getting free reign, right? It feels like we've been trusting the process for 10 years plus, Lee. And I agree with Dan in the sense that another manager, Tuchel can recruit, Klopp can recruit. It's like where I live in America, college sports, right? Coaches in college, football, basketball, half their job is recruitment. They go, they hustle, they drive to cities in the middle of nowhere to get the best talent. And why? Because they can convince that talent and sit in a room with them and say, hey, look at my rings. I've won 6 championships. Arteta won an FA Cup. And I say this with the most respect. Lee, he won that FA Cup with Emery's sloppy seconds. And when Aubameyang was on fire scoring goals for us and he saved us from a horrific season. So Lee.
Right, well, first and foremost, and I think this is a big thing, to win trophies isn't easy. You know what I mean? Like, let's get that right. You know what I mean? There's 4 trophies up for grabs, 3 if you're not in Europe. So it's always difficult. The one thing, you know, we're going on about was his recruitment right in January. Like, you know. What a lot of people say about Mikel, and I've just heard Harry say it, and I've just said, oh, give him time, give him windows. Well, we just had a window. We didn't use it. So how many more, you can't use, if you're not going to use a window, what's the point? You know, how many more windows you're going to give if you're not going to give up, if you're not going to have a window and not give anything?
He's had 5.
So he's had 5, well, you know, like, and he didn't do nothing in this window. I don't mind getting rid of Aubameyang, I ain't got a problem with it. I don't mind him getting rid of Guendouzi, I don't mind getting rid of anybody that he wants to. Replace them. That is a difference if you do. You have to replace, you cannot keep stripping down the squad and not getting it, not improving it. And that's where I would say that we've gone wrong. If there's nobody, you're telling me there's nobody better out there than a goal scorer at the time that scored no goals and a goal scorer that scored 3. Well, I beg to differ on that, like, you know what I mean? Like, and if you ain't going to get the man you're going to get in January, then get someone in till January.
Like
Exactly, and that's what you do. That's where they've gone wrong. I look at Tottenham and like Tottenham are no better than us. Why are Tottenham in the position they are now, Man United and Arsenal, not in my opinion, is because they recruited in January. Arsenal didn't, Man United didn't.
And they got a better manager.
And Newcastle did, and it saved them from relegation.
Yeah, you know,
just quickly on that point though, Lee, like when Antonio Conte took over at Spurs, they were 2 points behind us. We fast forward to now and we're level. And Conte's had access. I mean, I think we can all admit Partey's injured. He's probably our only player that we'd say is genuinely world class when he's playing at the top of his game, right? Yeah. Conte's had access to Kane and Son, and no matter how much we hate Spurs, we have to be humble and admit they're 2 world class players, Kane and Son. Right. Conte, in the amount of time since November and now, has caught up by 2 points.
Yeah,
and we've lost Partey and Tommy Asu.
He's done a great job on that. Like, why is he in the job? Why is Conte in the job?
Because Nuno weren't good enough.
Because and if he would have stayed in the job, Nuno, we wouldn't be worrying about Tottenham Hotspur now. I'll tell you.
They're trusting his process.
They wouldn't be worried about Tottenham Hotspur. The fact of the matter is, Conte is a good manager.
I agree with what Spurs did. They should have got rid of Nuno. Appointing Conte is the right thing.
Son was injured in January, February, right?
But we ain't talking about getting rid of Arteta. The question was, have we failed in the January transfer window? My argument is, yes, we should have recruited. I don't think anybody can turn around and say, no, we shouldn't have recruited, like, you know, but because at the end of the day, Dan's right what he's saying, and this is a thing where we are not good enough to win the league, right? So what you're saying is that to win the league, you're going to have to improve on the players we've got. So somewhere along the line, you've got to recruit. Now, is that in January? I think when you've only got two transfer windows through the year, you recruit in January and you also recruit in the summer. That is my thing, you know what I mean? You don't just go, I'll tell you what, we'll recruit in the summer and not in January. And if you ever look at it, yes, if you're a Liverpool and a Man City, you don't, but look at a lot of these other teams, they do. And sometimes that is the difference between winning something and not.
I'll just come in.
All right,
just 1 second, Sophie. I'll just come in quickly because I think it's important. I think
swing it to Kevin.
When it comes to 2022, what Spurs have done, and the only reason, like Ali said, is the reason they're in this race, in my opinion, is because they got the manager in that I thought was elite, and he is elite. I don't care what anyone says. They already had 2 strikers that were not scoring under Nuno that are now scoring because they've got a world-class manager, and they recruited. They were the only team that recruited. They got Bentancur and Kulusevski, who, along with Kane and Son, and Romero, who's now back from injury, have been their best players. So I think that's the only reason that they're even in this top 4 race, because they look terrible. Everyone remembers seeing them at the Emirates. We absolutely battered them, and we were terrible at the time. So I think the only reason that they've got a chance of this is because they've done things the way that I believe we should be doing, and that was strengthening in January, getting a world-class manager in, and trying to do what they can now, not in 5 years' time.
Kev, I think you and I have always agreed on this one about January.
Listen, January we should have recruited. It's that simple. We should have recruited. We took a big risk. But here we are, 6 games to go, and we still got an opportunity for top 6. So top 4, we might end up in top 6. We might. But you know what? I think the opportunity for top 4 is still there. It is still there. And you know, if we do get it, fantastic. Everybody, who's going to moan if we get top 4? Nobody. If we miss out, it's an opportunity lost, 100%. Why? Because we didn't recruit in January. So the risk has been taken and they're going to live with the risk. Of course, there's going to be blowback if we don't get top 4 because of that. We might miss out by goals because Tottenham is like they've got an extra point with their goal difference.
That'd be horrific.
So
That would be horrific.
that would actually hurt more if we finish on level points and their goal difference are better.
I might have to go to Pluto. Yeah, we've got to go to the audience.
Yeah, literally 1 second. So the difference between Arsenal and Spurs' approaches, though, is the strategy that's in place, right? So Tottenham have bought Kulusevski and Bentancur in short-term deals with a manager who's in on a 2-year contract because he's not even convinced about where Spurs are going. So they're trying to plug the hole. Spurs are avoiding doing what we are doing.
Actually,
which
Harry,
is
I
building.
think they've gone short term to get an immediate result. That's what they've done. They've gone short term
but
to get Champions
Daniel
League
Levy's
football.
been doing that for years and they're not going anywhere.
If they qualify for the Champions League, watch what happens.
But that's the key.
Right, Mr. Judges, get your little tush out there.
I'm going out there. I'll tell you
Please
what,
go to Mark and
I
Mark
don't care
first.
who's got their hand up, right? I'm going to someone that's by the fire.
Go to Mark first.
Donna, you got anything to say?
Grab the mic, Mark. Grab it.
Right, my question is...
What's your name first? I know, but nobody else knows.
My name's Mark, guest sometimes on the Highbury Squad. So my question is, obviously we've participated in the Champions League before. Do you have the faith in the Chronicles, if we do make top 4, that they're going to do the proper investment in the squad if we do make top 4?
Well, I think we know
Good
Dan
question.
doesn't.
Good question.
Yeah, I want to say this.
Quick.
Another one, it's only one question.
There's no one question, but just to elaborate on this, I think a lot of people are in the mindset is if we make top 4, we're going to go out and sign all these quality players. But just remember, when we was in the Champions League, we still did it on the cheap. So I don't think there's any guarantees that we'll
It's a great
spend.
point.
Mark, great point, but this is the key. What's the point in getting in the Champions League if we're going to then go up against the likes of Bayern Munich and get done 10-2?
I agree, but I just don't think the Chronicles will spend.
No, but that's not the point. The principle is this: if we're not going to be competitive, what is the point? Because you know what, we got sidetracked many years. Qualifying for the Champions League every year, that was like a trophy, people said, and we're getting turfed out 10-2 against Bayern Munich. That's not what Arsenal's about. If we're not going to get in there and improve, what we got to do is consolidate and slowly improve.
Do you think they'll invest though?
I think they will. I think they will invest.
Yeah, they will invest.
But I don't think we have the sort of money that we can do a Man United or a Manchester City or Chelsea and go out and spend 300-400 million. I don't think we could do that. So the big marker, as Sophie said, is going to be this summer. Wherever we get to, we need 2 strikers. We need midfield reinforcements. And you know what I want to see? I want to see Saliba come back and start playing. I think that's really important.
Okay, I know your name, but tell everybody you know.
Julian.
Hello, Julian.
Hello. If we were going to replace the Cronkies, who would we want to replace them with and why?
Can I answer this, please?
Go on.
Right, if you didn't hear that, if we was to replace the Cronkies, who with and why?
I would love Robert Kraft.
Good question.
Robert Kraft, who owns the New England Patriots, to buy the Arsenal. He's a businessman, he's an entrepreneur, he's a philanthropist, but he loves to win. And he gave Bill Belichick and Tom Brady all of the tools and resources to win every single season. Win. He would be perfect for us. Absolutely perfect. The answer for me is Robert Kraft. I would love to see that.
It won't be Daniel Ek. I could tell you
That's
that
a good
much.
question. Now we've got a lovely lady here. I know your name. What's your name?
Lynn.
Lynn. Right. What's the question, Lynn?
He's loving the roaming.
No, you can't take Kevin out tonight.
I'm prepared to give Arteta a little bit longer
time, yeah.
because he came as a winner from another club, so he's not going to want to be a loser, is he?
That's true. So he was at Man City, he was a winner. he was a winner at Manchester City, so he's not going to come to Arsenal as a loser, is he? So
Who was a winner at Manchester City?
Mikel Arteta as a coach.
Oh,
He knows what it takes to win.
please. What? Lynn, he's not the coach.
Hide! She's coming.
It's
Don't kill the messenger.
I understand what you're saying, but he's not making the decisions. He was an important coach and he made players better, and Sterling talks very highly of him. But he's not the reason why they performed and won what they've done. But he does have the Pep Guardiola chip in him, and that is to put square pegs in round holes at the worst moments. And Pep Guardiola has
You started off then like that,
twice.
So last time I'm asking you a question.
Yes, twice.
Twice he could have won it. Right at the back.
Can I come here? Be you to a sec. Is there a heater by there? Yeah, I'm coming to you. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Curtis. I'm just wondering, how much more time are we going to give the Cronkies? Because everyone knows their famous quote, they're not here to win trophies.
How long are we going to give the Cronkies?
The Cronkies have got us, they own it. They're going, trust me, they're going nowhere.
You mean how long until we start saying
Yeah, but they're going nowhere. Yeah, but don't forget, there was protests at Arsenal last season. Massive protests. The Cronkies are going nowhere.
But
Trust
then
me.
we started winning and everyone piped down. That's the truth as well.
What needs to happen? Arsenal need to pan for everybody to say, right, that's it. But they're not. We seem to be doing okay at the moment. If we get Champions League football, like that opportunity says, they're here to stay. Warm yourself up, Lee.
What's the question, Lee?
Yes. Sorry, I was just turning myself. Sorry about that. What's your name?
Ray.
Ray.
Hello. My question is two scenarios. We finish in the Champions League and we finish in the Europa League. What's the remit for Edu and Arteta in both of those scenarios?
Great question. So I'll come back down
Good
now.
question, judges.
What happens if we get into the Champions League or the Europa League? What is the remit for Mikel Arteta? So if they win the get into the Champions League, what is the remit for that?
Come on, Tom.
And what is the remit for Europa League?
If we get into the Europa League...
You're going to take this one, Tom?
Well, I'm
Well
speaking.
done.
The remit for the Europa League is that you win it, as it always has been.
So win it.
Agree.
If we get into the Champions League, it is to get as far as feasibly possible.
Win a game in the Champions League, that's it.
I think with the Champions League, look, there's a lot of the idea, there's this discussion about whether or not is it worth being in the Champions League, because what hope do Arsenal have of winning the Champions League? Ajax got to Spurs got to a bloody final of this Champions League not so recently ago.
That was the worst night of our lives.
Look, if they can get to a final, if RB Leipzig can get to a semi, if Ajax can get to a semi-final, you got to be in it to win it. I want to be in this competition. If you're saying to me that the options are winning the Europa League or finishing round of 16 in the Champions League, obviously I'd rather win the trophy.
I
but
agree with that.
You've got to be in the Champions League to win it. And I think actually being in the Champions League, and the analogy as I use, is that if you've got, say, 100 doors, and that's your transfer window, and behind each door is a player, being in the Champions League opens up pretty much most of those doors. If you're in the Europa League, it doesn't close all of them, but it certainly restricts what you're able to do. But
Absolutely.
yeah, the remit is win the Europa League and get as far as feasibly possible in the Champions League.
Right here, Lee.
Hello, name, number?
I think that we're about 5-6 signings away from being able to compete if we put round with our young players. Because we've got some really, really good young players coming through and already in the team. I think that, but I from the start of the season I said we could get top 4, and I still think we can do that.
But you're saying we still need 6 players?
So
we do, but
for what? To
compete
challenge?
for like the...
To challenge.
Yeah.
To challenge, yeah, I think that's fair.
So 30 seconds, Harry, 5 or 6 players, and then 30 seconds, Dan, 5 or 6 players.
8. We need 8.
I'll see you in about an hour. Has anybody else got a question?
No, look, we do need a number of players, but for me, It's about building now. Like I know, like Dan
Johnny's
wants
old, isn't he?
titles, and we do
Johnny's
need. We obviously want titles, but the first step is to establish ourselves as regulars in the Champions League. That's the first point. You don't get from A to C. You got to go to B first. And I think you're right. We do need a number of players to strengthen the squad, to improve the depth, because we don't have it at the moment. It's non-existent. So yeah, you're right. We need 5-6 players to be constantly in the top 4,
Dan?
and that's the first step.
30 seconds.
I totally agree with you. I'd actually say we probably need more, nearer to 8, if I'm honest with you, to go for a title, because I still don't think that we can rely all on youth. I do think there is some options for us, but I do believe that when it comes to Champions League qualification, we've got more chance of getting that elite level, and that's why I want to get into that Champions League. I do feel that when you're in any competition, any trophy, the aim for me of elite sport and trophies is to win them. So if we're going in the Champions League, I'm not going to be like, I'll just accept coming out the group stage and going back into the Europa League. I want to go and win that trophy. And if people were saying that's unrealistic, I've seen teams win this trophy that haven't been the best in the league, or haven't been the best in their own league, or even the best in the world. Liverpool 2005, Porto 2004. We've seen Chelsea with it under Di Matteo when I think they come 8th or 9th in the league. So I would say that if you're in a competition, the aim is always to win it. It's never to just get as far as you can. I will just get to the quarters and we'll just get knocked out by Bayern Munich or Barcelona. You've got to go the full way for me and win that competition. Sorry, that was more than 30 seconds.
That was more than 30 seconds.
Well, I've got just 2 questions here. Going to fire them over this side
Okay,
here.
then it goes.
What's your name?
I'm going to send it to Kev.
Andrew.
In the panel's opinion, as we've got such a young team, out of all of you, one individually, who do you think could lead us as the next captain?
Oh, that's a good question. So who's the next captain?
This is a good one for 10 seconds.
Kieran Tierney, 100%.
Kieran Tierney.
Go on.
Martin Odegaard.
Martin Odegaard as well. Kieran Tierney can't get fit.
Sophie, who are you going for? Sophie, who are you going for?
Martin Odegaard.
Martin Odegaard is it. Last question for the night then. I'm going for Granit Xhaka. No, I'm going for Martin Odegaard as well. Like, you know what I mean? I'll tell you what. I'd love Tierney, but he just doesn't play enough games for me to be captain.
Do you have one
Last
more?
question tonight, so it better be a good one, so you're under pressure. Okay. Well, here we go.
Hi, I'm Stephen.
Hello, Stephen.
And my question is, a lot of fans think that culture is only to do with the players on the pitch. I'm old enough to know that the culture is the whole club and what the whole club is.
Well
and do
said.
you think that the people they've brought in is trying to restore above the players and the management to the upper management the ethos of the club to make them understand what our club really is?
I'll tell you what, that might go over a few heads up there, I'll tell you, like, you know.
Right.
What I will say, like, it's always been the Arsenal, Kev, like, are they trying to change the culture? Is that what I think he's saying, like, yeah?
So he's talking about culture.
Yeah, culture. Look, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again about Arsenal from the past, because that's where we're living. We're living in the past. Past teams have been successful. Past team have won trophies. We've got an invincible side. We've got nearly invincible side. We've had some really, really good teams at Arsenal. And one thing you could always count on with those teams, you knew what you were going to get. You knew we could rough it when it was time to get rough. The team could play football. We could score goals. We could defend. And we just don't have that same. We didn't have the same under Wenger at the back end. Under Emery, we were good 1 minute, we were bad. But he didn't have the time. Why? Because probably the dressing room, the culture. And now under Mikel Arteta, I believe the culture's changing. I really do. So you don't get anything by having a poor culture. Anything. And that's why he's weeded the bad ones out. The Mustafis, the Ozils, they've got to go. Guendouzi won't toe the line. He's got to go. Any player that is not going to toe the line has to go, because you know what? You know the saying about a bad apple. One bad apple in the barrel spoils everything. So that's what we need to do. Recruit right, get the culture right, get the fans on board, and then we're going in the right direction.
Well said, Kev. All right, you guys. Come here, judges. You make a very good roving reporter, by the way. This has been absolutely epic. When we hang up, everyone will have an opportunity to say hi, take pictures. But before we do that, I'm going to hand it over to Kev because he has something very special he wants to hand out to our panel and to 4 very dedicated Highbury Squad listeners who have come from quite away.
I'm going to smash the place
Yeah,
up
that's
here.
fine. We're Greek. Let's smash plates. Me and Harry are here. Opa! Let's go.
Right, listen, on behalf of the Highbury Squad, Sophie and I, we just want to acknowledge the guys on the panel because they're real special Arsenal people. They run podcasts, they put the work in, they put time in, and they've always been fantastic with us. So, on behalf of Zenith Coins, these are like...
I thought it was one of your cup winners' medals. Very disappointed now.
He's on fire.
There's 3 of them. But these are commemorative. Actually, Arsenal endorse them. Arsenal do sell them. A lot of people don't know about it. But Harry,
Thank you so much, man.
that's for you, mate. Tom, that's for you. Open it up, check it out. Dan, thank you, mate. Lee, thank you very much. No kisses, all right?
No kisses. No kisses.
Right.
You've got a little extra.
Yeah.
And it doesn't end there. Kev would like to give out a couple more to...
We've got some special. We've got some special.
Here.
Got some special people here. No, I'm going to go out to them. We've got some special people here who have followed us and been with us through COVID. Some very difficult times. We know how difficult it's been. But again, this is just a thank you. We drew names out of the hat, etc. And
one of my hats, by the way.
oh yeah, one of Sophie's hat. We don't know where it is, but there you go.
I'll tell you that.
And the first one, Sophie, goes to Lynn. There you go, Lynn.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Lynn.
Second one is to Mark.
B.
Thank you. Cheers, Kevin.
Nice one. There you go, Mark.
Thanks, Soph.
You're welcome. So the third one goes to the man who actually came up with the Squaddies concept, and that is
Stephen.
Stephen. He's right there, Kev.
Thanks, Kev.
There you go, mate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And last,
we say he's the luckiest man in the world, and he's not.
the luckiest man in the world. Where is he? Where's Jags? There he is. He's won again.
He's won. Oh, this
Well
guy's
done,
the
Jags. There you
luckiest.
go, mate. All the best, man. Thank you very much. Thank you, man.
Everything. Unreal. Totally did it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kev.
You're welcome,
Genuine.
guys. You're welcome.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Super Kev, thank you for your generosity. That is great. Like, I know how much these guys appreciate it, and I know they'll talk to you about it. Everyone out there, I can't believe Jags' name came out. My mind was blown completely. So we want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and supporting this live broadcast tonight. Our shows do not exist without each and every one of you.
So
None
we're
of it is
clapping.
possible.
And you know what, everyone? What I suggest is, come up, take your time and come up and all get pictures up here while you're here. So come on, no messing around from the front. Come on, let's come and get some pictures. Let's make sure you get them all.
We're going to close the show now from Harry, from Tom, from Dan, from Mr. Judges, Super Kev and myself. Thank you so much.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.